I've no terrific success. I ought to worry, I guess. Oh, whoa, whoa, I like a shady old tree. What's the matter with me? Oh, ho, rolling along at a loss, never gathering moss. Oh, ho, take it.
Hi there, I'm Dennis Miller. You know, nowadays people may not use the words Bing Crosby and hip in the same sentence, but the fact is, I think he embodied the word. Whether on stage or over the radio or from a studio backlot like this, Bing cast a magic that made him one of the coolest performers of the century. Now you think of it. This guy was like the Mick Jagger of 1926. And yet I remember when I was a kid almost 40 years later in a tiny theater in Pittsburgh watching one of the road movies so many times my mother finally had to yank me out of the place. The thing is, I always thought of Bing as a great comic, but the guy did it all. He sang, he danced, he was in fact an Academy Award-winning actor. How did he do it? Well, by being himself, by singing the songs he wanted to sing, telling the jokes he wanted to tell, and acting like the man he wanted to be. And in doing so, he came to represent a way of living that's as hip today as it was back then.
You got the accentuate the positive feeling. Mine it the negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In-Between.
Well, I told you, stick with me, and if you live, we're gonna do all right. Well, we can't miss.
You got to spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum.
Silence! Who is this goat? This moon-faced son of a one-eyed donkey?
I wouldn't let him call me that, even if there is a resemblance.
Have faith, or pandemonium liable to walk upon the scene.
Bing! Bing! Bing!
To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale, Noah in the ark. What's it to do just when everything looks so dark?
Next time I bring Sinatra.
Man, listen, we better accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative. Don't mess with Mr. In-Between.
Champagne for the crowd!
That's enough. Clear the crowd.
No, do not mess with Mr. In-Between.
I can play just the white keys. You know, the one thing that everybody remembers Bing for is White Christmas. For me, nothing elicits the Pavlovian response of Christmas past like that song. It is still the biggest hit of all time, estimated to have sold some 100 million copies. The mind boggles. But more importantly, it's a song that became a piece of history. It's 1942, and for hundreds of thousands of young American troops, it's their first Christmas on foreign soil. Suddenly, over the airwaves, they hear Bing. Can you believe that song? The biggest hit of all time, and he got it in 2 takes. Bing, you're too cool. But Bing wasn't some sort of one-hit wonder. He was and is the biggest record seller of all time. He hit the charts on 340 occasions. And let this figure sink in, 40 #1 hits. Mon Dieu. Some people estimate his music has sold 1 billion records, 1 billion. I mean, no one else even comes close. Not Elvis, not the Beatles, not Josie and the Pussycats, nobody, folks. His songs were nominated for 14 Academy Awards. He was the #1 box office draw 5 years in a row, a feat no one else has matched. Not John Wayne, not Robert Redford, no one. He had 29 top-grossing films, and he was nominated 3 times for his acting. When Frank Sinatra said, "We put Bing on a pedestal and we all fight for who's second," I think he had a point.
We're off on the road to Morocco. We certainly do get around. So many fakers sleep on nails and they saw their girls in half. Seems to me there should be easier ways to get a laugh. We're off on the road to Morocco.
One for the hill!
Hey, Pick and Pat, what's going on?
What's wrong? What's the matter?
Well, what about this bit?
Well, what do you mean? What's the trouble?
Well, you're singing our song with him.
I'm terribly sorry.
After all, Dean wouldn't do this to Jerry.
By the 1940s, Bing Crosby was probably the most famous person in the world. He didn't start out on top, though. He was just a little guy from small-town USA. In this case, Spokane, Washington. He was born at the beginning of the century to a big Catholic family. He loved baseball and the outdoors and music. When he was just a little kid, he became a fan of a cartoon character in a local newspaper, the Bingville Bugle. The character's name was Bingo. He started calling himself Bing. Needless to say, the name stuck. Now, his parents wanted him to be a lawyer, like the world needs more lawyers. But Bing figured he could make more money singing than suing, and so it was off to Hollywood to make it big. His big break came with the Paul Whiteman Band as part of a trio called the Rhythm Boys.
Ah, look at my doorstep, look at my doorstep, look at the bluebirds, look at
This
the
clip
blackbirds.
from the King of Jazz is the first time Bing was ever on film.
I never saw bluebirds mingle with blackbirds. I never saw bluebirds doing things backwards. Never knew good luck ever.
Whiteman wanted Bing to stay on the beat, but the Rhythm Boys were always experimenting, suddenly changing the tempo and rearranging the melody to create a song within a song.
Maybe I'd better pick up the thread of the story.
Will you leave him?
Okay. First the bluebird said, we've got to have sunny weather. So the bluebirds and the blackbirds got together. Whip-boo-boo-boo, you can take those bluebirds, take those blackbirds, mix them together, you get fair weather.
And that's the reason the bluebirds and the blackbirds got
together.
Sounds pretty good to me. And Bing did what every red-blooded American boy wanted to do during Prohibition. He found out where the speakeasies were, and he made a beeline to them every night and started drinking up the hot sauce. It was in those speakeasies that Bing heard a new kind of music played by the great black musicians of the day, guys like Louis Armstrong and King Oliver and Duke Ellington. It was called jazz, and ooh, baby, talk about your hot sauce.
To the eyes of dynamite, baby, every night while I shake my right arm, 'cause my dynamite change your mind.
Louis Armstrong showed Bing how to sing scat, a kind of singing where you use your voice like an instrument. He could go around a chord like an accomplished jazz singer, hit notes, finish phrases like a clarinet or a saxophone. Talk about wild stuff. Think about it. When most of the singers of the day sang a song like Dinah, it sounded like this. My apologies up front. Dinah, is there anybody finer? But when Bing did Dinah, oh yeah.
Every night, why do I shake with pride? Shaking 'cause dynamite. Change your mind about me, don't you tell me that you change your mind about me. No. Just to be with Dinah Lee.
Sounds kind of sweet, don't it?
Let me hear it again.
Boom, 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 boom.
All I hear is...
Zing, 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 zing.
Zing, 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 zing.
Oh, wait a minute now. Don't go away. Don't go away.
Bing added this personal jazz style to everything he did. In the 1930s, his boo-boo-booing singing style became so famous that everyone in the country was copying it and making fun of it, even Bing.
No, that's not the way it goes, that silly little phrase you hear all day. Dukes and peers and racketeers go boo-boo-boo. That's the way they chase their blues away. From Honolulu Bay to Carolina, from Philadelphia all the way to Asia Minor, everyone beneath the sun goes boo-boo-boo-boo-boo. All the world is going boo-boo-boo-boo-boo. All the world is saying tweet, 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 tweet. Oh, that funny little strain, it's in my brain. Acrobats and diplomats, tweet, 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 tweet. That funny little strain, it's driving me insane. Please, gay people used to sing that peanut bender. Now they are crooning one more chance and I surrender. Everyone beneath the sun. All the world is going
In 1990, Life magazine picked out its 100 most influential people of the 20th century. There were only two musicians on the list, Elvis Presley and Bing. And for a lot of the same reasons, Bing did for jazz what Elvis later did for rock and roll. They took the music that they loved and turned it into the hippest, coolest, most popular music of their times. But in Bing's case, he did something even more radical. He was the first singer to incorporate the capabilities of modern technology into his style. Before Bing Crosby, popular singers like Al Jolson had to belt out their songs so they could be heard in the back rows of the theaters. But in Bing's case, he sang into the microphone, allowing every sigh, every groan to be heard as no one had ever done before. I mean, all of a sudden, every cat who had to sit in the cheap seats because he didn't have the cash felt like